We will get started. So welcome everyone. I am super excited to have you with us, joining us with Dr. Odom for the next 30-40 minutes. And these are just full and busy days. And so I want to thank you for choosing to be here. My name is Chris Reep, and I live in Springfield, Ohio, and I'm an affiliate with a global health food company, and I love to help families thrive by sharing the simplicity and power in plant powders, functional food, which is food on purpose. And tonight we have Dr. Odom, who is on mission to share how he has seen these plant powders have high impact on families' health outcomes. He received his medical degree from the University of Mississippi Medical Center and completed his OB-GYN residency at the Jackson, Mississippi Medical Center. And he has delivered over 17,000 babies during his 37 years in private practice. He authored numerous scientific articles, including a retrospective study with Juice Plus, and that was published in spring 2006, JANA. And he was also instrumental in initiating gold standard study on the effects of plant powders in Juice Plus on reducing pregnancy complications, conducted at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson, Mississippi. So Dr. Odom is passionate about sharing and teaching and travels far and wide to share this message of hope. He is married and a father of 5 sons, and they have 6 grandchildren. And so listen, if anyone has a specific question, please put it in the chat. I'm going to organize them. And for those who want to stay on a little longer, he told me he would love to answer all of your questions. So thank you for being with us tonight, Dr. Odom. I'm going to turn it over to you. And if you all can, just mute your line. If I mute everybody, then I'll probably mute you, Dr. Odom. So take it away.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for that. And did you allow me? Yeah, there you go. Here we are right now. Okay, great. Well, I almost asked you to change the title because I know that everybody that's going to be on tonight probably isn't either pregnant or attempting conception. So I tried to make this so that it would fit for anybody, any age, and any gender. So, but I'm just thrilled to be with you, Chris. Thank you for the invitation. And thank you, ladies that are on. I didn't see a gentleman, but I know that life is hectic, and I just appreciate your time tonight. So the title of this is Functional Food for Pregnancy, and let's start with what is functional food. So Jeff Olson says functional food is food on purpose, and he also says it's food that matters, and then he says it's matter that matters. And the definition for functional food that I found was that functional food functional food is also called a nutraceutical, and it's any food that benefits human physiology. And so that could be an awful lot of different foods, but functional foods literally are in a class of their own. And I saw another definition of superfoods, and it said it's a classification where the food benefits human physiology on more than one level. So, or more than on multiple pathways. So, so I want to jump to another definition. You all know what lifespan is. It's how long your brain is functioning and how long your heart is beating, and it's literally how long you live. But have you ever heard the term health span? Well, health span is how long you live without disability. And I'm amazed at the number of automobiles in my state. I'm in Mississippi, And how many of them have handicap license plates or stickers on their mirrors? There are just so many people that have a disability. And if you think back just a few years, the people that were involved or that were diagnosed in the pandemic, and the ones that were the sickest, the ones that were on ventilators, and the ones that ended up, some of them actually dying, they had what we call comorbidities. And you could also call those disabilities. So health span literally is when you're living with full foundational health. So I know that everybody is not that's listening tonight is not on just for the pregnancy portion. I'm going to cover that, but I'm also going to try to make a parallel between your state of health right now and the state of health that you would love to have. We like to call it optimal health, and what you can do to reach that. And so there are an awful lot of physiologies that are concurrent for a pregnant woman and somebody who is trying to improve their overall long-standing health. So just know that the human body has the ability to heal and recover. And if it has a sufficient parts, you have to have all the parts necessary, amino acids, micronutrients, all of the different parts of the body. And so what we know is that there are 3 significant areas of nutritional deficiencies in our country. And the one that you never hear people talk about or rarely talk about is fiber. And another are the chemicals that are inside the fiber. They're called phytonutrients or plant compounds, plant chemicals. And when we chew food, we typically release these phytonutrients. Most of these phytonutrients have magical powers, and a lot of them function as antioxidants. And we'll talk about what antioxidants are in just a minute. And then the third area of significant deficiency is healthy fatty oils. We call them omegas. They're fatty acids. And when you add all these 3 together, fiber and phytonutrients and healthy fats, most pregnant women that start their pregnancy are already behind the 8 ball. They are already showing significant deficiency and they never catch up. So when they do conceive, they literally are playing catch up the rest of their 266 days of gestation. So still talking about pregnancy and how to avoid pregnancy complications. But I do want to tell you, why do we have these deficiencies? And I don't know if y'all know who T. Colin Campbell is. He wrote the China study, but he said, I can simplify why we're having so many of these metabolic diseases in the United States. It's 3 reasons. He says it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In other words, what he's saying is that it's food choices. And we have decisions every day about what to eat or what to avoid, what not to eat. And we know that every food that we choose has consequences. Some are negative and some are positive. But if we truly want health, every food that we put in our mouth every day can either fight disease or it can fuel disease. It can take you one step closer to optimal health, or it can take you one step closer to aging faster. So we never talk about these things, and it's amazing how simple they are, but it's just the consistent determination of I'm going to try to have the best health that I can. I want to live longer. I want to die shorter, which means I want to have all my faculties. I want to be able to drive the car, read a book and know what I'm reading, play cards and be able to think what card has been played. In other words, you want to have as many of your normal senses and faculties working for you. But food choices are huge in our country, and we've made some really, really bad decisions, a lot of us, and we perpetuate that. We do it day after day. It's the consistent intake of either healthy food or unhealthy food that determines your state of health at any given moment more than any other single thing. Certainly, that's part of your lifestyle. And so we get to choose whether we want to have diabetes or not. We get to choose whether we want to have an autoimmune or not. We get to choose whether we have endothelial dysfunction and we end up having a cardiovascular event, a heart attack, a stroke, or either heart failure. So much of what I just described is determined by the foods that you eat on a consistent basis. That's the good news and that's the bad news. So if we all knew that our life depended on it, would we literally eat dessert at every meal? We know how bad sugar is and simple carbs. And so those are the foods that we really should be avoiding. So when I was practicing obstetrics, and this goes for anybody that wants to achieve better health, being proactive is critical. So the more people that you get involved in making a decision and having an accountability partner, the better. And I want to emphasize teamwork approach here. And that means that the patient and her health and the state of her pregnancy is determined by a lot of her decisions, but it's also her working with her doctor or her nurse practitioner or her nurse midwife. So the real focus, though, as soon as someone is pronounced pregnant, the attention is immediately moved on to reducing preventable complications. So many things can happen once a pregnancy occurs. You can miscarry, you can go into labor early, you can have a comorbidity, or you can have a disability that's continuing to impact your pregnancy. So we want to try to fill in those missing nutrients that I mentioned earlier. So where do we get those phytonutrients, and where do we get fiber, and where do we get healthy fats from our diet? So I spent an awful lot of time educating my patients and their significant other or their family member that would come in with them. And we emphasized every area of movement. I never like to use the word exercise. Well, that's like talking to a woman about her weight, but movement, just stop being so sedentary. We emphasize the benefits of sleeping and resting, and that's when your body repairs itself. Hydration is just more water. Reducing stress or learning how to live with stress that you have, and then supplementation. And so many pregnant mothers in our country are still using prenatal vitamins. That's still the standard of care. I wrote a paper 16 years ago about whole food and what whole food can do to reduce preventable pregnancy complications, but that hasn't caught on yet. But whatever you're doing to improve your health while you're either trying to conceive or once you have conceived, the idea is just make these these changes or the way that you're augmenting your health, just make it consistent. Try to move every day, walk to the mailbox, walk to the end of the block, walk around the block. Just try to move as much as you can. But nutrition is the most important thing. And we know that the foundation of health is nutrition. And the foundation of nutrition is a diet that's rich in fruits and vegetables and other plant foods. So do y'all know what macronutrients are versus micronutrients? Anyway, most of us, pregnant or not, have significant micronutrient deficiencies. Not depletions, but deficiencies. So this represents what we should be eating. We used to have a food guide pyramid that was replaced by a complicated formula. And then that was replaced by choosemyplate.gov. And here's what they recommend. This is your plate. This is for every meal, every day. You should be eating a fourth of your plate should be fruits, a fourth vegetable, a fourth grain, preferably whole grain, and a fourth protein. And preferably half of that protein should be plant protein. Forget that little circle up there that says dairy, because that's been replaced by water. Dairy has no place in a healthy my plate. In fact, dairy is not recommended during a pregnancy, during postpartum time, or at any point. Dairy is not your friend. So, but this is a representation of 87.5% of your plate should be plant food. So that's every meal, every day. And I know that's a lot, but if you want optimal health, this is the blueprint necessary to reach it. Okay, so why not just vitamins? That's a great question. Well, there's only a limited number of vitamins. There are only 13. 9 are water soluble and 4 are fat soluble. You have essential vitamins versus non-essential. Essential means that you cannot make them. You have to get them from an outside source. And we're one of the few animals on the planet that can't make vitamin C. So we have to get them from other foods that have the ability to make these different vitamins. Vitamins are made in a factory or a plant, oftentimes overseas. Most of the vitamins that we see in this country come in from China, and I'm not really sure the standard of practice or care that they're using over there. And when they're man-made versus nature-made, our body doesn't recognize them, and it's not unusual that you wouldn't absorb much or any of these vitamins if they're made in a lab. And then there's the possibility of taking too much of any one vitamin and overdosing. And except for obstetrics, there's not a medical endorsement from any field of medicine. And as I mentioned just a minute ago, that's still the standard of care. We've tried to change it, and we've tried to make it the diet. We've tried to make it plant-based whole food, and we just haven't gotten there yet, but that's where we're headed. So vitamins are not the answer. In fact, here's one study in the Lancet and another one, the New England Journal of Medicine, two of the premier medical journals, and they looked at the water-soluble vitamin C and the fat-soluble vitamin E to see if they could prevent preventable pregnancy complications, and in these cases, toxemia, also called preeclampsia or pregnancy-induced hypertension. And the essence of both of these studies said that neither one of these vitamins made any impact at all in reducing the likelihood of toxemia or preeclampsia happening. So, and not only preeclampsia, but intrauterine growth restriction or any serious outcomes for the infants. So vitamins are not our answer. Vitamins are probably part of the answer, but the vitamins are not the answer. So this is an example of antioxidant activity of 100 grams extract from fresh apples. They measured the vitamin C content, and it was only 5.7 milligrams. And when they looked at all of the antioxidants in the apple and they totaled it all up, that's called total antioxidant capacity, or TAC, it was equivalent to over 1,500 milligrams of isolated vitamin C. In other words, the activity of all these other micronutrients in that apple were synergistically compounding the activity of each of the different things, so that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, but 1 + 1 equals 4, 5, or 6. And one person said, really, 1 + 1 equals 11. So it's the synergy of all of these, though, benefiting each other. So whole food is what we're missing. It's not vitamins. So what's the answer? It's unrefined, unaltered, plant-based whole food. And there is a movement in our country that is going more and more in that direction. If you have the idea of preventing something, you would be much better off changing your diet so that you focus on more plant foods. Fiber is good for you. I mentioned the deficiency. Phytonutrients, those are antioxidants. Antioxidants neutralize compounds called oxygen-free radicals. I will talk more about that in just a minute, but this is the answer. So I had a patient come to me and she said, "Oh, doctor, you'd be so proud of me. I learned how to read the labels on the foods that I buy at the grocery store." And I said, "Well, that's great that you're making that effort, but take it one step further. Stop buying food that requires a label. Buy a food that if it does have a label, the answer is, if it's an apple, the answer is ingredients, apple." So that's not something that I would be real proud, although there are so many ways to hide sugar and hide other ingredients that are unhealthy for us. It's probably a good idea to learn how to read those labels so you stop buying those food products. That most of these food products are just that. They're products that have been processed or altered so that they enhance the taste so that you'll like them more than somebody else's whatever that you're trying to buy. This was a very significant study that was done comparing unrefined plant food and the correlation with the killer diseases, heart disease, stroke, and cancer. And if you look at the graph, the countries where the highest incidence of heart disease and cancer, as shown here in red, versus the green, which is the unrefined plant food. If you look at the first country there was Hungary, the next one was United States. And in the United States, we were second on this chart, having the second highest rate of these killer diseases. And but look at the comparison of the amount of unrefined plant food. So those countries that had the highest intake of the unrefined plant food had the lowest incidence of these killer diseases. So it's an inverse relationship. This was quite telling. Really sad. So what are the areas of human physiology that are affected most by these deficiencies? One is called oxidative stress. It should be oxidative. Whoops, sorry about that. So anyway, oxidative stress is by definition too many free radicals. And free radicals are a part of normal metabolism. And when we make energy, when we digest food, as a byproduct, we're producing oxidation or oxidative stress in the form of free radicals, oxygen compounds missing an electron. So another area of physiology affected by these deficiencies are chronic inflammation. Mental health, brain health, gut health, endothelial function, and gene expression are all directly related to the amount of plant food that we consume, just like that previous chart showed. So all of these deficiency diseases that we all have or have had at one time, most of us, these are conscious decisions to avoid foods that have fiber and phytonutrients and these healthy fats. So this was a Newsweek that I saw in August of 1994, and I remembered it because it came out the same week as my birthday in August. And the title is "The Search for the Magic Pill." Are phytonutrients good for us? Can they prevent cancer? And then the next article said the truth about antioxidants. And all of this really began my journey of understanding how nutrition works and how it protects us and how it allows us to repair cells and tissues, and how it reduces the likelihood of developing chronic metabolic diseases. So this started my journey, and it continues to this day. And I love being able to help other people understand what this can do for them when they eat more of these phytonutrient-rich plant foods. So this was, if you look at this date here, this was 1991, if you can see that right in the middle here. And they identified 12,455 plant compounds, phytonutrients, in an apple. And if you look at the entirety of this this visual, this is a iceberg, and you only see what's on the top of the water of this part of the iceberg up here. But this up here is for performance. This is how we generate energy. So this part up here are your macronutrients, your protein, fats, and carbs. Everything that's from here down are your, are your micronutrients, your antioxidants. So this is protection down here. This is for performance up here primarily, and down here it's for protection and performance. But this is the gas in your car, and this is the oil, the transmission fluid, and all the other things that are found in food. So that was 1991. This was 10 years later, 2001, and those estimates of 12,455 phytonutrients, all of a sudden they had identified 25,000. So we don't know today how many phytonutrients there are in this beautiful picture of oranges, strawberries, grapes, blueberries, apples, all of this excellent choice for fruits and berries. So I know most of you have probably seen this. These are the named ingredients in the apple, and there are over 450 named ingredients, but they've identified, as you saw earlier, over 12,000, and that was years before. So the estimates today are there are at least probably 50,000. There might be 100,000 of these plant chemicals called phytonutrients, and they all benefit us, just like vitamins benefit us. Some of these compounds, though, are more impactful than the vitamins. So it's the synergy of all of them, though, when you eat that apple. It's so beneficial. So micronutrients or phytonutrients are responsible for taste, color, and smell. And most of them function as antioxidants or antioxidation. And it's like a coat of armor. It's protection. And we need as much protection as we can get every day, because they donate electrons and neutralize these free radicals. Free radicals are imbalanced. And when there are too many free radicals, it means that because of that imbalance, that's called oxidative stress. And it means that it is potentially very harmful. So, but these micronutrients do reduce inflammation, and they're so good that they can save your life, literally. And again, it's the synergy of all of them working together. So antioxidants equal protection. Oxidation is also equated with rusting or aging. Aging is oxidation. Oxidation is aging. So if we can neutralize these unbalanced compounds, it protects us, and literally it slows down aging, and it reduces inflammation, all of these things. And all of these are very important for a growing pregnancy, or they're very important for somebody who's not thinking pregnancy, but is seeking better health. Okay, so pregnancy and oxidative stress, because there's increased mitochondrial activity, increased inflammation, increased free radical damage because of growing tissues, and not only in the fetus, but in the placenta. So it's an additional state of oxidative stress. And without protection, this heightened oxidation leads to these different issues that I was evaluating in a study I did in my office. So this was a study that was done at the Cleveland Clinic, where they actually looked at the amniotic fluid. That's another name for free radicals. And when there were more of these free radicals than there were protection from the antioxidants, this pregnancy was destined for having a bad outcome. Maybe early labor, maybe preeclampsia, toxemia, maybe diabetes, but certainly at a higher risk of developing and delivering early. And that's in contrast to this pregnancy, looking at amniotic fluid, where there were more antioxidants than there were free radicals. So this excess of antioxidants was protection that literally carried this pregnancy right up to term and prevented a pregnancy complication. So this is the type of comparison that you'd love to see in your amniotic fluid. So total antioxidant capacity is what TAC stands for. That's another name for antioxidants. So the dangers of prematurity are such that every year in this country, there are 500,000 to 600,000. That's over 500,000 babies that are born prematurely. That's 1 out of every 8 live births. That's 1 in 8 are going to be premature. They're going to be delivering early. So infant mortality continues to rise in this country, as does maternal mortality. It's the highest in the developed countries. And that is such a sad state of the health of obstetrics in the United States, that we're the lowest ranked, and we have the worst outcomes, and that's primarily due with baby or infant mortality, because some of these babies come extremely early. Some of them barely weigh a pound. It's really, really sad. And what we know is that why so many of them, it's chronic disease in the mother, and it's all directly related to suboptimal nutritional intake or diet. So it's excessive chronic inflammation. We can choose to eat foods that promote inflammation. We can choose to eat foods that reduce inflammation. But processed food, simple carbs, sugar, too many animal sourced foods, all are promoting chronic inflammation. So the current recommendation during pregnancy calls for a minimum of 12 to 15 servings. A serving is a half a cup. So, and these servings of plant sources, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, seeds, nuts, berries, beans, legumes. In other words, foods that are very dense and fiber dense, so as to help prevent these pregnancy complications. So let's talk a little bit about gut health. This is the buzzword today. The enteric microbiome is the composite community of all bacteria that's found in your intestinal tract. Most of those are found in the colon, the large intestine. And these bacteria belong to one of two groups, fall under an umbrella of either beneficial or non-beneficial. And these bacteria, when you add them all up, they weigh between 4 and 5 pounds. And this microbiome is the genetic material of these bacteria. And this is inherited 100% from the mother. When the baby slides through the birth canal, the same bacteria that are in the colon are in the vagina, and it inoculates the baby so that they will typically have the same microbiome, or one very, very similar to the mother. And by the time the baby's or the infant is 4 or 5 years old, the microbiome has been completed, and it might be influenced somewhat by a nanny or babysitter, or maybe next door neighbors or other family members. But the microbiome is influenced by multiple factors, including lifestyle choices. So the more unhealthy choices, like smoking, like eating non-GMO food, eating non-GMO, or eating genetically modified food, or other inflammatory foods. Stress is another factor that impacts the enteric microbiome. Whether the mother took antibiotics during her pregnancy, or the baby, after it delivered, the infant was given antibiotics for whatever reason. Other prescription or non-prescription over-the-counter medications affect this enteric microbiome. Antacids, hormones are especially upsetting to the microbiome. And of course, our environment, our water is not nearly as clean as it needs to be. It's full of toxins, chemicals, and other things affect the enteric microbiome, especially eating simple carbs and unhealthy food choices. Did I say sugar? I'll emphasize sugar is poison. Processed foods, or there should be no place on that healthy diet, that healthy plate. Gluten and dairy, gluten-rich foods, dairy foods, animal foods of all sorts impact the bacteria in a negative way. So the diet that we should be eating that's very beneficial for your healthy bacteria, your good ones, we call them probiotics, is prebiotic fiber. Fiber is the main ingredient that feeds literally these bacteria that are in your intestinal tract. So phytonutrients also feed these good bacteria. So turning quickly to epigenetics, these are influences that turn genes on and off. You can't change your DNA, but each of us get 23 chromosomes from each parent added together. That's 46. That's how many we should have. There's some people that have more or less, one more, one less. That's unusual, but does happen. But so on those 46 chromosomes, we get 23,000 genes, and these genes are our heredity material, our inherited material. And all of us have over 10 million opportunities for what are called SNPs. And these are mutations that if they continue to multiply and replicate, they can cause cancer. So a SNP is a single nucleotide polymorphism. And we're all producing them, but we have the ability to literally, if they happen, this is where that DNA that's, you've seen pictures of it, where the DNA strands separate and where they come back together are called mutations. So most of these have little effect on your health, but some of them actually can be extremely destructive. Some people have cancer genes. There are women that have tests to determine if they have a cancer gene so that they can be followed a little more closely. And I'm not going to go into detail about MTHFR, but that's a methylation gene that's important during a pregnancy. But the way to turn off these destructive genes literally are with methylation. And where do we get methylation or methyl groups? That's a CH3 group. These protect, repair, and heal your DNA. And they come primarily from green leafy vegetables. Even the ones that we cook when we eat them, like turnip greens, some of us love those and try to eat them every day or multiple times a week. Kale and spinach are also excellent choices. Okay, I'm going to skip over that. I'm going to skip over that. DNA and nutrigenomics. Our DNA is definitely influenced by the foods that we eat. And if we have strand breakage, here we go right here, strand breaks that lead to mutations. And if you want to correct those broken strands and those DNA that are mutations, the more plant food, the more fiber, the more phytonutrients, the more likely you are to reverse that. And this is a study looking at over 1,600 genes. This was done at the University of Newcastle down in Australia, and these were inflammatory genes. And it showed that in this one particular study, by increasing the intake of plant sources, and in this case, this was plant powders that were concentrated into a capsule form, and they were able to turn on or upregulate over 1,146 of these inflammatory genes. These were protective genes. And they were able to turn off or down regulate or express these genes so that they would not be destructive. So that's the power of nutrition. That's the power of food. And this entire area is under scrutiny, and it's called nutrigenomics. And it's very important, especially for a pregnant mom, because these epigenes, these influences of the DNA and the genetics is carried on from the mother to the offspring, and then that can be replicated again through another generation and another and another, and we know at least 3 or 4 generations. So a generation's 20 to 22 years. So what a pregnant mother eats during her pregnancy could influence her offspring as much as even 100 years from now. Pretty impressive research, but it underscores the importance of making better decisions, healthier decisions, whole food, plant-based, unrefined. So this, I just wanted to emphasize this. These are the countries that eat the most unrefined, unaltered plant foods, and they have the lowest incidence of these killer diseases. But it's not just these diseases, it's all disease, autoimmune diseases especially. To just emphasize one more time, this is what we should be eating. And because of these different reasons, so many phytonutrients that are in there, low fat, and the fat that are in there are healthy fats. And these foods are typically very available, convenient, affordable. And we even have a way that you can grow your own using the Tower Garden. And the best thing that we can tell you about fruits and vegetables and berries, unless they're genetically modified, the best thing we can tell you is that there's no risk. Okay, so, but how many and who does? So the recommendations are 12 to 15 servings. This is especially for pregnant mothers. This is especially for cancer survivors. I say that diabetics should be in this because we need to reduce the insulin resistance in these diabetics. And the way to do that is to eat more plant food. So that's the way to also reduce preventable complications for a pregnancy. So here's your take-home points. Whole plant food, functional foods, and if you want to achieve optimal health, sorry about that, then the more functional foods, the more plant foods, the better. And it reduces your risk for all chronic disease, especially the metabolic diseases. So phytonutrient antioxidants reduce chronic inflammation and reduce free radical damage and reduce oxidative stress. These functional foods are a great source of fiber, Prebiotic means that they feed your good bacteria. And these functional foods are a great source of structured water. Plants are between 70 and 100% water, some more than others. But this structured water means that the water content in these foods have antioxidants that lower the risk of free radical damage. These functional foods are also great sources for methyl groups, which are important. We don't talk about that much, but they also influence the genes, especially the ones that are protective, and turn them on or turn them off. But so here's the simple solution. It's minimum 8 to 10 cups, and a cup, literally 8 to 10 cups, is 16 to 20 servings of raw whole plant food. But who's going to do that? Most aren't. If you do not, will not, or cannot, we have a solution that's convenient and affordable and is simple, safe. It is researched, it's proven, it's functional food, it's consistent, and it's easy to get in the habit of just augmenting your diet with these powders that are in a capsule or a chewable form. So there's nothing anywhere in the world, with or without a prescription, that will do what Juice Plus will do. And I've been consuming these powders now for 27 years. Actually, that's over 10,000 days that I've had these plant powders circulating in my bloodstream, protecting me, helping my gene expression benefit me. I've had these powders that keep me from having leaky gut, that promote my inflammatory response by affecting my immune system, 80 to 85% of which is found in your gut. So if we can have the healthy balance in the gut, balance of bacteria favoring probiotics versus the firmicutes, the non-beneficial, I have great focus, so it helps your brain. If you have leaky gut, you have leaky brain. All of these benefits are multidimensional, and I can say I've had this protection, but more importantly, the one thing that I appreciate so much is the peace of mind that it provides for me. So I know it's time. Thank you, Chris, for allowing me to share this with you.
Well, there's been a wealth of information there, Dr. Odom. Thank you. Thank you so much. It has prompted a few questions, and I will say that for those of you who want to hop off and need to run for whatever reason, please feel free, because I do have a recording, and I do have a couple of questions for you, though, Dr. Odom, if you don't mind.
Sure, shoot.
So there was one, because you are an OB-GYN and have delivered so many babies, have you seen a specific food that should be consumed in each given trimester?
Yes, all of them. I know that's a cop-out for that answer, but the more fiber, the better. Kiwis are very fiber rich. Artichokes, very fiber rich. The more fiber, the better. I would focus more on fiber than phytonutrients, the compounds that are found in the foods. The other thing I would strongly encourage is greens, any green food. And even though we cook some of them, the more raw, the better. But really, it's the variety. It's not one thing, it's all of the things. It's the variety. The more variety of plant intake, the more diversity of the bacteria. And that's really what you want. You want as many of these good, healthy bacteria that are flourishing in your intestinal tract, and that will lower your risk of having pregnancy complications. That will lower your risk if you're not pregnant for developing any chronic disease. We know that it slows aging. There's only one other strategy that slows aging more than plant food, and that's not eating calories at all. It's fasting.
Hmm.
I wouldn't recommend that during a pregnancy, though.
No, not when you're feeding two bodies, for
Right.
sure.
Right. Well, we used to say that, yeah, you're eating for two, but now I would say you're literally eating for 100 trillion. And I'm talking about your bacteria. It's very important that we feed them. Just know that your good bacteria are vegan, just like a lot of us, and really focus on plant food. And the non-beneficial bacteria are typically, they're called Firmicutes. That's an umbrella, and they're carnivores. They eat animal and they eat processed food. That's what they love.
Interesting. Okay, so on that line a little bit, do you recommend increasing Juice Plus throughout your pregnancy?
I
Like,
do. I do. And here's why. The primary reason for that is as the pregnancy proceeds, uh, as the accelerated tissue growth occurs in that third trimester, there's so much more free radicals, so many more that are being produced. So you need more antioxidants to neutralize them. So my rule of thumb was in the first trimester, if it's the first pregnancy, start with just the basic with Juice Plus, the basic trio, and 2 capsules from each. And then in that second trimester, 3 of each, and the fourth trimester, 4 of each. And I've recommended that until they stop nursing, because they started off with a micronutrient deficit. And by the time they deliver, all of those antioxidants have been used, and they have another extreme deficit. So it's going to take time to literally build back up. Think of antioxidants, phytonutrients, micronutrients, phytonutrients. Think of all of these as being synonymous. And the best example of optimal health is to have an excess of these phytonutrients. So you can't eat too many. And with Juice Plus, people would ask me, how many should I take? And I would say, or not take. I don't like, we take medicine and we take supplements. Juice Plus is actually food. So I would say consume or eat. And my answer there is eat as much as you can afford. It's just protection. And if you have extra, you can store it just like we can some of that PB and POB and put it in the bank. Save it for a rainy day.
Very good. Very good. Wow, I do have other questions here.
I have all the time. You go right ahead.
So what about, well, you did mention a little bit about the postpartum.
Yeah.
And okay, so what are your thoughts about reasons for miscarriages?
Miscarriages, we actually did a study when I was a resident and I was in training, and we actually looked at the chromosomal numbers. Instead of it being 46, 23 from each parent, and a large majority, I've forgotten, it was 75 or 80% or greater, the tissue that we looked at and evaluated chromosomes, it was almost always a variant of 23. So it might be instead of 46, it might be 69, it might be 92. And we know that these are not compatible with life. So it's literally nature's way or God's way of saying, okay, let's eliminate this one and start over before you get too attached to it or too emotionally involved. So, but we do know that that raw plant food can help support the genetic material that is being formulated with every pregnancy.
Yes.
And I did keep up with early deliveries, and I didn't keep the number, but there was a marked reduction in miscarriage in patients that were on Juice Plus for at least 6 months before conception.
That's encouraging.
So I would encourage anybody that has daughters that when they reach 15 or 16, if they're not already on Juice Plus, they should start at that point, and that would be the best thing that you could do to literally get their body ready for a pregnancy in the future. You know, not at 15 or 16 unless you happen to live in Mississippi, but just planning ahead and being proactive.
Right, as in health in general, is always being proactive in that for sure. So one question is, it's hard to eat anything in the first trimester, and there's
Right.
so many food aversions that cause nauseousness.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a name for that, and it's called hyperemesis gravidarum, and it's specific to pregnancy. And we know that a lot of that occurs in Mississippi, and a lot of it occurs everywhere. And we know that antioxidant capacity, and we know that the more phytonutrients, the less the nausea. So at one point we thought maybe there was a specific hormone that caused it, and now we know that it is lifestyle related. But sometimes mothers can eat perfectly and they still have it, and so the one thing that we try to do is we try to avoid too much of that, because you can lose an awful lot of your electrolytes, and you can promote more of that inflammatory oxidative stress that's harmful. So you want to do everything to try to minimize that. And so the idea is that once it starts, though, it is very, very difficult, because there's really no medicine that is 2000% safe in pregnancy to try to help treat it. That's really the real negative with hyperemesis. So we learned to try to encourage just having something in your stomach. It seemed like the longer that her mother went before she ate, the worse it was. So small, frequent feedings rather than 2 or 3 big ones, just to keep a little something in your stomach. And then once you can get on top of it, stay hydrated so that you don't get dehydrated with all that vomiting.
Cool. That's very, very helpful. So I wanted to read this one. I have one last question. I know some people are having to hop off, and that's fine because we do have the recording, but I just want to read this one comment to all for you, Dr. Odom, especially, but for all of us. And then I have one question about diet and lifestyle regarding thyroid. So anyway, thank you so much for your time and expertise. I've lived this Juice Plus lifestyle for 17 years and had Juice Plus babies, and I'm very radical with what my children eat, as others would define. But knowing the truth fuels the lifestyle and I love the benefits. These reminders are urgent for me to encourage others, specifically my inner city teen moms in the ministry I serve in, to share with them this power. I need this to spur on my love for their babies and encourage them in their choices. they don't have much that they can control in their lives, but they can choose their food. So she was just saying thank you. Just so much good information here. And so there was another question here. What are diet and lifestyle modifications for thyroid health specifically? Do you have any recommendations for that?
Yes, let me make a comment about that previous comment that
Sure.
you just read.
Sure.
That is that I stopped delivering in 2002, and I had an office practice. I did a little surgery, but primarily it was just in the office. But I was seeing a lot of young women that were infertile. Just they had tried. That meant that they had tried for a year without protection and couldn't conceive or didn't conceive. And that's gotten to be a real problem. We see in so much more of that today. And there is absolutely no question in my mind that it's lifestyle. And the major part of that lifestyle is nutrition. And it's not what they're eating is so bad, but it's what they're not eating. They're not eating the plants that are necessary for these phytonutrients that are so critical for our overall health in every organ and every system. So I don't know if any of y'all were on the medical panel last night that John Saran hosted, but Joe Pole was on there, and he talked about male infertility, and sperm counts for men have been evaluated for the last 50, 60 years, and they're half what they were just a decade or two ago. And there's one theoretical study that predicted that we aren't going to be able to reproduce in this country by the year 2035. That's only 12 years away because of male infertility, as well as the issues that women are having to have healthy eggs that can be fertilized. So this is really sad that the human race could in the next century, not 12 years, but in the next century, that we might be really having so many issues, and it might be the rarity that the pregnancy is achieved in the future. And that is so sad because we're doing it to ourselves.
Right. Wow, that is sobering.
Yep.
That
So
is
I hate to
sobering.
end
So
the
all
call
aboard
on
for our
that.
message to
I hate to end the call that way, but this is another call to action for all of us, that everything that goes in your mouth either feeds disease or it feeds health. We get to decide every meal, every tea party, every break, everything that goes in. And think about the quality of your food. There is no nutritional value in a soda. There's no nutritional value in any alcoholic beverage. And there's no real benefit in all the sugar that we're eating, and we're eating so much, and sugar is so inflammatory. And I know you know that dementia and Alzheimer's disease is epidemic, and especially Mississippi. And so it is so epidemic that it's now, Alzheimer's is now called type 3 diabetes because of the relationship with the sugar intake and the inflammation that's causing in the brain. And it just breaks my heart that we've been given this message 27 years. I have, Chris, and you've been doing this almost as long as me, maybe longer. And people just aren't waking up, and they aren't listening.
Yeah. So that's our job. That's our job. We get to share this message of hope and life, and knowing that we have a great mission here to share. So thank you so much, Dr. Odom, for sharing with us, for giving of your time. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this call. And I will get the recording out. And again, I just appreciate your generous information and time spent here tonight.
Well,
Thank you so much. If you all want to unmute yourself, you can say the same.
You are so sweet, and I'm thrilled to do this for you. And so I will just tell you that your thanking me is offset by the fact that I went way over. I know we talked about 30 minutes. I'm sorry it lasted longer. I just had a lot I wanted to share, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. There was no place I could ever stop you. So it was all good. It was awesome. We really, really appreciate it. So much thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Good night, everybody. I hope y'all were getting ready for bed while you were listening, because I'm sorry it took so long.
No, it was good.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
everybody.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Night.